Thought we'd have a little chat before we go to the drive-in movie. I hope your day was as good as mine. I'm not going to stay on long. I don't know if the duct tape group is going to be doing their live event, but we're. Let me go ahead and push this door shut here. Let me tilt this. Let me tilt this over a little bit. Make it more easier to see. There's not a whole lot of people in here yet. It's supper time. It's Friday night, and we're getting ready for the Friday night drive-in theater. Angelique's been all day popping popcorn, and we're excited to be on the air chatting with the whole gang. There's two before and riding on Ruby. Well, riding on Ruby, have you been putting some armor plate on the bus? Because when the rubber tire deacons hit the road, we're going to be calling on you to help haul some of the loot, some of the donations. No loot, donation. We're doing this for the people. Two before, I hope your day's been good in Nova Scotia. Well, is everybody seeing Old Mack good enough, or seeing too much of Old Mack, or let me slide in there a little closer. I can get in a little closer. Okay. So our day was really good. We went to Warrior today. That ain't a big deal, but we did go over to Warrior to. Well, I had to go to the bank. Even old Mac has to go to the bank. Got a nice day planned up for tomorrow. I hope we're coming across okay. Motor Bomb. American Outlaw. Man, we got the whole gang up in here. Oh, good. Yeah, we had a nice day. We went to Warrior. We had lunch, and let me tell you, one of my favorite drinks my wife really loved. She loved Bailey's Irish Cream, and I did too. And I haven't had any in years. So when we was coming out of town, we stopped at Wayne's package store, and I said, Angelique, run in there and get us a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream. She trotted off in there, and she come back out, and so when we got home, we pulled in under the carport, and she was getting stuff out of there, and she got that big old bottle. Wait, it ain't a big bottle; it's only a 750 liter, I think, milliliter, ml. And she handed me the bottle, and she said, "Guess how much this cost?" I said, "Well, $23." She laughed. Ha! $40 for a bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream. I like it in coffee. And she had a glass of it with milk added onto it, and she had that with her chicken sandwich. She really liked it. You see, I'm wearing the appropriate hat to match. Well, it's almost black, almost. This is really a high black, and that's more of a dull black. But um, thought I'd add some color to the picture. I'm coming to you tonight in living color. You guys, I bet you're riding with Ruby. He might remember. Hey, alcohol not for everybody. That's the first bottle we've bought in a long time. Um, but I just had a craving. I got to thinking about her and how she would take chamomile tea and she'd put Bailey's in chamomile tea. And on a treat, if I was a good boy, and I wasn't good most often, but when I was a good person, she would take a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Don't we all love beer? Oh, man. And she would pour that Bailey's over a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Ooh, it was so good. So our day was pretty uneventful. Nice ride. I had really enjoyed the ride today. The weather is perfect, 85 degrees. Going to be 89 tomorrow. It's going to be borderline warm, warm around the edges. But hey, this is that time of the year when we're going through that transition, where uh, I just took a shower and my beard is it's unmanageable. Well, I had to run a comb through it and get all the twists and knots out of it. I watched Motorbomb Virginia. You probably saw this already. I watched Toga and the boys, Sterling Wheel and quite a few other Buck when they was getting their hair cut off for the worthy cause of the Forgotten Angels. And they I think they got up over $12,500 were donated. Toga made an appearance, and we got to see Toga. We always see it in text. All you can go anywhere, and there'll always be a Toga there. Toga is a guy that um, is connected to the world, and I got to see him today for the first time. I got to actually watch him talk. He had a little bit. He had the camera on him, and those guys had so much fun for that charity. I was really proud of them. I just watched your movie, American Outlaw. You you're going to save your nickels and dimes and quarters, and maybe by spring. Yeah. Then you look down a little bit further. Oh yeah, I watched. I didn't even know it'd be a halfway decent motor still left for 74. But I'm going to tell you, I could weld that block. Um, I've done it before. I had my Doctor William Morrison. He used to trade me drugs for motorcycle work. He was an avid cross country. He rode dirt bikes, motocross, and stuff like that. And when he wasn't being a doctor, oh, okay, he uh, he had this 500 cc a Honda. It was a very powerful two-stroke 500cc single piston, and he had broken the case. And so I went over and loaded it up, and he had broken it down. All it was just a bare case, and I took it over to Bowen and went over there to the heat treat area, and they have a soaking tank that degreases aluminum. It's vapor degreaser, some of the $100 million equipment. And I put it in a basket. I dropped it down in there, and it did its thing, and we pulled it out of there, and a few more things. Then I took it over to the purge booth. The purge booth is where you run your arms through these gloves. The gloves inside there are thermal insulated. They have asbestos and all that stuff. And then you get a hold of your torch, your TIG torch, and you turn your gas on and you purge the container that you're working in. 100. When you read your gauge, you got the mixture of gases you need in that chamber. Well, you just look through the eyepiece there, and you can turn it to any shade you want, and you don't have to put a hood on, and you can just get right there and weld. And I welded his case up. He had a cast aluminum case. I welded his case up. Well, that vapor degreaser, it forces all the grease and stuff out of the cracks, and I drilled it on both ends, and it was around where the bearing on that engine, where the crankshaft and everything, a very structural, strong piece in there. But he had hit a boulder and broke it. And I welded it all back up, reinforced it, and the doctor put it all back together, and it worked out good. The doctor was very pleased. He used to give me Percodan. I would weld up something on his bike, and he'd give me a sack full of Percodan. Percodan, when you hurt all over after your hands has been broken, your arms has been broken, and you got a lot of broken stuff, you tend to hurt a little bit. And that Percodan would take the pain away. That was a long time ago, way back in the 70s, 30, 54 years ago. Yeah, it's been a while. One time we had a PHM, Pursuit Hydrofoil Missile boat down off the coast of Argentina, and they was running along there at classified speed, but it was a mile a minute. It was fast, and it hit a whale, and it sucked up 200 or 300 pounds of whale up in this pump, and it blowed the pump housing with all that pressure. Gas turbine engines runs the pump, and it cracked the housing. So they came to shore in Argentina, and they pulled the motors out. They pulled the pumps out. I left the motors in there, and they air freighted. The military brought it up to McCord Air Force Base, and then they trucked it over to us, and we put this thing in this big vat, this vapor degreaser, the pump housing, and we pickled it for a few days, and then we went through a long, lengthy drying cycle. I guess it was 2 days of the cleaning process, and then we got in there and started welding that housing up. And gosh, I welded on it for one whole day, and then we had to go and seal the ends up. They did. I didn't do none of that stuff. And they pressurized, and they put hundreds of pounds per square inch pressure inside that pump housing. No leaks. And so they air freighted it back down there, put the uh, put the thing all back together, and them boys, them sailors were happy that the Pegasus class boat was back on the water again. We've had a lot of really good times when it comes to some emergency things that happen. And I was a purge tank operator. This was in the 70s, and one time, yeah, you already give it a try. I had a friend of mine that lived in Holly Pond, Alabama, and he called me and said, "You're an old welder, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a really old welder." he, he said, "Can you still TIG weld?" And I told him, "Yeah, yes, I can still TIG weld." He said, "Now you told us one time you could weld cast iron." And I said, "Yeah, I can weld cast iron." And so anyhow, I did a job for him, and oh hell, he was so happy. I didn't charge him nothing for it. He's a friend of mine. I'm retired, and I don't charge people. But anyhow, he's gone now. He died this year. He's younger than me. Yeah, give it a try. Read up on it. There's a neighbor across the street. He's got a flux core, and he's never even turned it on. He told me I was talking to him out there, and he said he's had it for 2 years and has never had hooked it up. I used to. There was a process we used in the 70s for the Air Force. They insisted upon it's called short arc, and I don't know why, but I believe at the time the Air Force was hired an engineering firm called Parsons, and Parsons was hooked on short arcing. Um, and so they wanted us to do that job for them with short arc. Well, short arcing is a kind of unique process. You run bare wire, but you run a manifold and you mix your gases, and the Air Force tells you which gases you have to have on that product, and you mix it according to their instructions. You know, you use out each pound per each regulator, and I welded 1,053 Minuteman cable tray units. Cable tray, if you went into a Minuteman silo and you went 35 feet down to the ground, and then you get on another little ladder and go down 12 feet, that's what they call a second level. And down there on the second level, um, you have a cable tray that goes around the the perimeter of the silo. Hey, Adventures of Key Fob. Good afternoon. Um, yeah, the second level it had the cable tray that went around the perimeter. Inside the cable tray was what we call the umbilical cord. On the side of the Minuteman missile, you have uh, a thing that plugged into the Minuteman missile. It would be like a large extension cord plugging in. It's big, and that was called the umbilical. And now we had a reel that all this stuff, this cable was on a reel, but it ran down through the cable tray. When the missile launched out and when the signals went up into the missile to light the missile, As the missile would pull away, it would pull, it's called the retractor box. The cable would come out and the retractor reel was sitting there by the retractor box, and it would suck out of the missile as the missile was moving forward, and that retractor would roll the cable back up so that the cable couldn't get ensnarled, because there's a lot of stuff taking place when a missile starts to go up out of the hole, and you had to have everything tight and right, for it to make a good exit out of the hole without, you didn't want an incident. I mean, it's not one of them deals like, well, I hope we can get it out of the hole, and then the door ain't open. There's so many sequences takes place from the time the launch is command to launch is given and the engines ignite. You've only got a few seconds from where the warhead, the top is sitting, till it clears the hole. I mean, it's out of there. I mean, all this pressure builds up in this lunch tube liner, and then we have what we call the boot ring that holds the pressure. As it starts traveling up through past the boot ring, it signals to go off, and the door doesn't open until it reaches the right signal. And then the door, which weighs 780,000 pounds, it's on rails, and that goes sliding back. You got three big gas generators in the ground that the explosive goes off, and the piston is pushed into the ground, and it pulls the cables, and away the door goes. 780,000 pounds. We can make, in just nanoseconds, we can make so much horsepower that door, 750,000 pounds, even if it's frozen up in Minot, North Dakota, that door is going to open. Them generators will open that door with just pure power. I'm sorry. You guys talk. I'm rambling. Where's my little doggy? Oh, there's my little doggy. There's my little. Hey, Theo. Uh, hey, Ray Gregory. Oh, I appreciate that too before. Uh, but I ramble along about things that are so boring to you guys. I mean, it's still fresh in my mind, but I don't know. I can talk about almost any topic. I drift off to that stuff. Um, but um, there's so many new and wonderful things happening in our lives. Hello, Jim. Jim Reynolds just joined us. The old Nike. I told the boys about an adventure with the Nike yesterday. Yesterday, I told the boys about when I was over at Fort Leonard Wood. They sent the Army Rangers up there to pick us up. Yeah, I told Motorbomb Virginia he was at Fort Leonard Wood, not at the same time I was. I was there 1979. Um, they sent the Army Rangers up from Fort Leonard Wood. Well, the team assembled at Fort Leonard Wood, and we had to join up with them, and we waited for the Brits to get in. The Brits, they rolled in, and the Germans, I don't remember what they called the Germans. There was some kind of a commando group. Um, but the Aussies, man, you talking about some hardy lads. Them guys, they'll run you into the ground. I had a son, he was in the Marine Corps, and he told me them Aussies, when they come over and did cross training with the U.S., them goddamn boys are hardcore. 82 at Leonard Wood. Um, it was a kind of a, it was quite an ordeal. When we finished there at Fort Leonard Wood, we was out a long ways away. We was way up at the end of the range. We was at the northern pass spring. We was way up to the north there. And when we got our ordeal finished, I had one of the engineers with me from Boeing. I was living at Whiteman Air Force Base, but I was the Boeing representative on this particular job. And so I told you guys we run across um, a lot of ticks, what they call cluster ticks or seed ticks. They live in under the bottom of the leaf, and we got them all over us, under our arms, every crevice in your body. We had ticks, and so when we left, we was in a Humvee, and we drove from Fort Leonard Wood back up to Malmstrom Air Force Base, which is up by Warrensburg, up by Sedalia, Missouri, quite up towards Kansas City. And we stopped at this little 7-Eleven stores somewhere out away from Leonard Wood, and we bought deep wood off. And old Lee, he was eating, scratching all over. Lee and I went out there in the front of out in the woods. We pulled off on the side road. We stripped down bare ass naked. And I held my arms up, and he sprayed under my arms, and he spread his legs, and I sprayed him all over every itching spot. And I got him behind the legs, and he sprayed me down. I sprayed him down. And we got dressed back up, and I had to take him to Kansas City, put him on the airplane to fly him back to Seattle. And so I get him boarded on the airplane. Then I'm heading back down to Whiteman Air Force Base. And when he touched down up there in Seattle, he told me they set him in between two ladies. And well, now his nuts is itching. You know, he's got ticks. And ah, got a call here. You boys talk amongst yourselves. Hey, Eddie.
Hello, my friend. How in the world are you doing?
Well, I'm hoping it's not some issue where one of our friends have died on us.
No, not well. I guess you knew Bob passed away.
BB.
14, Bob.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he passed away about last winter, I guess.
Oh, I know BBN. Yeah, BBN. You know, he lived up in my neighborhood up in here. He was just a fantastic bike rider. He loved his Harley.
Yeah, Bob, he sure did. Bob down here, his name was Bob Sims, N14.
Yeah, I remember Bob Sims. Yes.
He got dementia.
Oh hell.
And it affected him in the way that he never thought he was hungry, and he just wasted
Good God, it can be devastating. I know that for a fact, Eddie. You know, we lost Mom, we lost Ruth. You know, so many friends and family members that have passed on from dementia.
But yeah, he just wouldn't eat. He didn't think he was hungry. And he lost, oh, golly, probably over 50 pounds.
Oh.
Maybe more than that. I don't know. But anyway, I just had you on my mind today. I keep my phone with me pretty much all the time, and I didn't ever hear the phone ring. And all of a sudden, I've got all these little ringy dingy notifications on it, and one of those little things went off, and I looked over and it said, "You got a voicemail." So I listened to it, and I said, "Oh, there's Jerry calling me back," but my phone never rang.
Oh, I got you. When I called you back, you called me earlier, and we was on the Harley.
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
Yeah, and I normally have my Cena turned on to where I can talk, but I didn't have my helmet that had the Cena on it. I've got another helmet, and so I wasn't able to answer you. It was she had the phone in her purse, so I missed your call. But oh, I got to say this, Eddie. I don't often get telephone calls from college professors. I got a friend. I got a friend that drives a school bus for 39 years.
Wow.
You've told some of the greatest stories about when you go up to Indiana and Illinois, carrying the football team up there. So some of the things you guys got involved in on the bus, and it made me think of you every time that my buddy tells a story about school bus stories. I always think about you.
Oh man, I can tell you a bunch of stuff. Oh man, alive. But anyway, I didn't really know if I had the correct phone number. I think the number I used to have, I tried to call it, and somebody answered, and I said, "Could I speak to Jerry Turner?" "Well, you've got a wrong number. Sorry." And
You
then I said something about it to Ken Barnes one day, and he said, "Well, I've got his new number," so he gave it to me. It's Ken's repeater going off. But anyway, I just all for whatever the reason hadn't talked to you in a long time, and I wanted to just call and see how you were doing.
I'm doing really good, Eddie. I'm right now as we're sitting here. I've got a collection of people that reaches all around the world: Australia, Thailand, China, and we meet every night. Just like you remember how we used to have our with the ham radio, we had groups that we talked to at night in different parts of the world and all of them. Well, I do this. I do motovlogging on my motorcycle, and then we've got it set up here. A good friend of mine up in Virginia, he set me up with, told me all the stuff to get so I can blog directly out of the house. And we have these people that signed up. You can actually on your internet look for me at like if you go to YouTube, type in just at Old Mack, one word, Old Mack, Mack.
Okay.
And you can find us live, and you're welcome. If you see me on a page, come and join in with me. Hell, I'll share you with the world.
Oh man, I tell you, we have our little on Ken Barnes 220 repeater. We have our little get together every night at 9 o'clock. I mean, I've tried to get them to do it a little earlier as I've gotten older. I'm ready to go to bed before 9 o'clock a lot of nights.
I understand that feeling. You know me, all the lifetime when I was driving the truck there, I never needed any sleep. And man, when I do get sleep, believe me, I can really cut some logs.
Well, the excuse that Ken used to use is Bob Sims when he was talking with us. Well, Bob, I've got stuff to do every night till 9 o'clock. I can't talk and go earlier than 9. And so, now that Bob's passed away, Ken just refuses to change the time.
Oh well, you tell the folks there on 3965 that I really I'm so saddened by the loss of Bob. My condolences to his family. And you know, the whole ham thing is a family thing. Like these guys we have here on the internet, we're all family. We all ride bikes. We're all into building America, seeing America, and doing whatever it takes to be a good American. Just going out and greeting people and saying hello, meeting one another, and sharing the word.
Yeah, matter of fact, Bob's wife has done sold that lake house they had. She's moved back up towards Huntsville.
Oh, I remember that Bob was used to, we used to work him on 6 meters, and he was always having some issues with that big amplifier he had, saying where they could hear him in Huntsville on 6 from down at the lake there. But he never gave up. He was hardcore all the way.
Well, let me tell you, that's one of the things. Bob, as he got farther into his dementia, he didn't know what button to push to operate his radio anymore.
Eddie,
he bought him a brand new Yazoo FTDX 3000 radio, like I've got, like Ken has. But his was an upgraded model. It was a 3000D. And for a while, he did pretty good. He had his station set up where he had a separate amp for 6 meters. It was one of those Larry Savage amps up there, you know, in Huntsville that built them.
yeah,
And he had his Meritron that he used on 3965. Well, he mashed as his dementia got worse, he mashed the wrong button one day and locked that 3000 up. We went up there and I tried, Ken tried. We didn't know what he had done. It wouldn't accept a reset or nothing on it. But anyway, after Bob died, Bob's wife gave me and Ken all of Bob's radio equipment. I got some of it. Ken got the bulk of it. But anyway, do you know Robert Rock?
yeah, I know him very well.
Well, Robert got that radio, and he don't know what he did, but he got to fiddling around in there and got the thing to working again. And so now Ken is using Bob's old radio as his daily station. So and now Ken has got that big old 1500 amplifier that Bob had. He wants to sell it.
Hey, hang on for a second there, Eddie. Ken Barnes wanted to tell you hello through my network of friends. He's
well, Ken Barnes, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, take a hike, Ken Barnes. Eddie said that. I didn't. You're in trouble now, Eddie.
Well, anyway, I guess you know the 3965 crowd moved the net up to 8:30 every morning.
Yeah, Joe, he brings me kind of up to date on what's going on, you know, with the group. When I see him, he's busy selling stuff. But
Joe's a regular on there now.
yeah, he's said it. Well, I went over and I worked with him. He got an amp and I set his amp up, and he seems to be happy with it.
Well, he's like I say, he gets in there every morning, and 8:30 was fine for me. But when they moved it up to 7:30, I told Jim, XWA Jim, I said, well, I don't get up that early, Jim. Y'all gonna have to have it without me. And I pretty well, sometimes if I have to get up and go somewhere early in the morning, and I got a few minutes to check in with them, I will, but I'm not a regular like I used to be.
I can understand, you know, times change, the seasons change. Everybody will be back together come winter. Eddie, I'm the net control over this group here. This is my group, and there's so many new ones, including Ken had just come in. I should go over and clear, do some touching some of the things there. They're talking, and you just can't hear them because they're chatting. They're chatting
Yeah.
amongst themselves, and they can see me live.
Well, I don't want to hold you up. I just wanted to call and tell you I had you on my mind. I hope you're doing well, and it's so good to hear from you.
Man, I want you to call me back, and I've got your number now. I've tried to call you. I've tried to send you messages, but you have obviously changed since the last time I've sent you something. And please, by all means, when something happens with the group there, let me know so I can pass the word on. Because a lot of people get in contact with me. I'm like, there's two ways to spread the word. Uh, by telegraph or tell a woman or tell Jerry. Tell old Mac, he'll spread the word.
Well, take care, and like I said, you got my number now, so I'm pretty well available most of the time. So if you want to call, or I'll try to call you. You said you're gonna be gone next week, right?
I know I'm gonna be going tomorrow and Sunday.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll give you a call one day soon. We're gonna have one of our radio club breakfasts in the morning.
I've told Angelique, I said, either Eddie Man is going to tell me about somebody dying or he's going to invite me to breakfast.
Yeah, we got it tomorrow morning in Tallahassee at the Jack's Hamburger Place.
I'm going to be meeting up with some folks from Georgia, and we're going to be on our motorcycles running just like banditos running all over the highway.
Oh, all right. Well, give it hell, man.
Hey, Eddie, man, I love you, and thank you very much for giving me a call.
Yeah, same here.
All right.
Good to hear you.
Bye-bye, Eddie.
All right, bye-bye.
That is a call that you always dread, and I was afraid it was going to be bad, but it wasn't. Well, I'd already heard about it. The reason it wasn't so bad, the shock wasn't. I knew about Bob. I'd heard my buddy Joe was trying to describe Bob. Bob and I, we go back a ways, but uh, anyhow, my friend Eddie brought me up on what all's happening and has been happening. We just needed to catch up. So, um, and his close buddy that runs with him a lot, Ken Barnes, that just came in here. We've had so many meals together. Ken Barnes and Eddie Man and myself and a whole bunch of others. Oh, Mr. Gamble, and we would go and meet 2 or 3 times a year. They live down by the Capitol, down in that direction, and I'd drive just to go have breakfast with the boys from my house here. It's 114 miles to go down there to have breakfast. I drive down there to Tallahassee, Alabama to have breakfast with them. Good bunch of human beings. I hope I'm still on the air. Hello. I see 8 people in here. Ruby, this is just sort of like CB. In fact, we have a group that we get together with that it's a mixture of CB and ham. And the idea of us getting together is to make it possible where they could become ham operators. Hello, Mr. Sick. Rolling with T-Bone, I missed you. Yeah, this guy I was just talking to, he was a band director. Oh, I bet you Dave and Motorbomb Virginia would have liked to have chatted to him. Oh, he taught. He was the band director at the marching band for Auburn University, Auburn, Alabama University. Not a little school by no means. Um, and he had so many stories to tell riding on Ruby. My son, he played the alto sax. Donald, my son, he played alto sax when he was going to school. He really liked that. I got a lot of my kids can do music. I'm the only one that didn't have no talent. I was pitiful. Well, this way, I've got the camera set up now, guys. It's a little different than I had this morning. Um, it's more in direct line of sight. I can talk and read whatever's on the screen, and makes it a little bit more convenient. T-Bone, let me make you feel at home. I know you said you've been missing out on the CB radio. This might help you out a little bit. You probably heard it 1,000 times. Hey, 40 Roger D, good buddy. By God, I kick it back, bring it on. Merchant sakes, got bigger. How about a 10-4 radio check? Come on. Uh, but not a bullwhip. What'd you do bad? I missed it, Tony. I did something bad. Sorry, man. Oh, let me see. I must have missed something. There wasn't a revoke going on while I was talking to my buddy Eddie Man. Yeah, wall to wall, treetop tall. Come on, kick it back. Let me turn my my talk back on. Hello, low, low. How you doing? Hey, hey, T, boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Oh, break one, man. How about that chicken coop coming up on me there? Hey, Pigpen, you putting off a terrible aroma. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, them guys would get them. They'd get that echo and talk back and all that stuff. And you remember? Any of you guys remember the Brown and CB radio? And that thing you'd pick up that big old lollipop, a static mic. You go. It would whistle and squeal. And them guys had them big old Brown and base stations. And yeah, I think if I remember, I saw where the truck driver, I just mentioned his name there a while ago, that went down. He was down there with the boys down there at the Forgotten Angels compound down there. And he was talking about in 6 months, I believe he said he's going to have his Pete paid off. It belonged to him. I used to like a Peter car. That's what they call them old boys running them. Pete driving a Peter car. And when a Peter car would be coming onto the, on the on ramp onto the freeway, they go, Break 19, you got a heavy coming on. You got a big trucker. I had a 16 called Sweet 16 in my truck, and it was mounted under the seat over on the right hand side down on the floorboard, and it had the fans on the top of it. Called the Sweet 16. It had 16 power amp tubes in it, and the cables were like O2 welding cables that went down right directly to the battery. And when you'd key it up, you would key a kilowatt, 1,000 watts of just RM watts, you know, RM watts versus PEP. If you keyed up 1,000 watts on AM, and when you would, if you look at your power meter, you could swing 2,500 watts or a good solid 1,900 watts of PEP, closer to 2,000 watts of PEP, a lot of swing. And I used to work 10 meters with that, and I didn't have no trouble talking with anybody. I used to work 40 meters with it, 75 meters. I never could work 160 meters. You got to have a lot of antenna. Just one quarter wave antenna at 160 meters. The length of your quarter wave for CB is 9 foot. It's a 9 foot is a quarter wave. Quarter wave for 160 meters is 150 feet. Cell phone has killed ham radio to a great extent. You can't encourage young people to get involved in ham radio. Why should they? I can pick this piece of crap up right here, and I can tune into ham radio stations. I can tune in and talk to ham operators on this piece of crap right here. And before all this happened, sitting up on that shift up there was thousands of dollars worth of equipment. These guys all know. I don't see my buddy Ken in there, but he would verify what I'm telling you is a lot of money in their equipment. This is only 1,300 bucks. Yeah, this one is. I think it's 12 or 1,300 bucks for a little bitty phone compared to, I don't know of any radio you could get for this price of a phone. Maybe a little 2 meter radio or something, but no HF, no high frequency radios. You couldn't get a new one for probably less than, I don't know, quite a bit of money. Take me back to my childhood there, Mac. I'm Mac. T-Bone, you take me back to my childhood. I want to visit that area. I had a wonderful childhood. I was raised in Alabama. It was hard to beat. Let me tell you there, T-Bone. Let me see. All great shows. My wife, I'm sorry, Angelique was asking me Which did I like best, Gunsmoke or Clint Eastwood? And I said, which gunfighter that she thought, which one would I think would be better? And I said, I thought Clint Eastwood because Matt Dillon, he shot somebody every week. He was a professional shooter. He'd let the other guy draw first and then he'd drop you in the tracks. But and he was a hard killer, man. He'd kill you. But Clint Eastwood would only kill a guy if he had to, and he killed him good too. Inner Sanctum, I loved Inner Sanctum. The squeaking door. See if you see the word, the squeaking door in there. The squeaking door, and there's another great detective show, The Fat Man. When I was a little boy in the 40s, I used to listen to The Fat Man on the radio. And the fat man would always go to the drugstore and he'd walk up there to the scale and he'd drop a penny in and you could hear the meter going up and then the little thing would click and a card would read and he'd read the little card. Now we couldn't see the card, but we could know the card was coming out of it. And he'd go, fortune, danger. That was the fat man. We had great shows on the radio. I've got a CD over there. It's got Amos and Andy. When Amos and Andy was at the top of the game, people would stop what they was doing when Amos and Andy came on, and they would sit and listen to Amos and Andy. Old George Kingfish Stevens and Sapphire. CBS Radio Mystery Theater. When I was truck driving, I used to tune in to some of the old AM broadcasts. When you're on AM, it reaches long, many, many miles. Well, now with the new FM being linked up, you've got. Of course, I had satellite radio in my rig, and I had constant. No matter where I went, very rarely did you ever find a place where the satellite couldn't get a signal to you. It had a big footprint. Yeah, the in those days, the radio T-Bone, the radio broadcasts, they were developed and designed to keep you in suspense. They all the sounds of the guy walking in a wet, damp alley, you could almost hear the wetness on the feet sticking as he is walking, and you could hear a dog off at the distance barking, and it was I mean, wonderful because it let your brain be a part of the story. Now, in everything that we got, you sit back and the story is developed before your eyes and it requires no interpretation, doesn't require you to put a lot of thought into it. You just sit there and absorb it. I looked this up, American Outlaw. I got my little situation. I wasn't able to see the links after I signed off here. I wasn't able to see the links. The scrolling text over here, the comments on a replay. So I went in on you over there on YouTube and I typed in how come I can't see the comments on replay? And they said, oh, you got to do this and oh, you got to do that. And here's how you do it. I did this and did that and it works. So I wasn't the only one having a problem. Sure, you look, or yeah, of course, I would be one of them. Um, it scared the whole nation. I think everybody was so afraid, and I've been in the deepest of woods. I've been up in the high Cascade Mountains. I've been all over the Colorado Rockies. Yeah, that's like with Amos and Andy. They was brought to you by Does Washing Powders. Does everything. D, Does was a company that made washing powders. That's when they call them not laundry detergent, but washing powders. Does everything. Yeah, I like all the. I used to like to listen to little Bucky Beaver. He'd be brushing his teeth, with Ipana toothpaste. Maybe made you want to go brush your teeth. I've told people, the younger people, about what it was like to be living. See, I was born before World War II, and I was born. I was a year and a half old before it even started, but uh, I lived through the whole period of time when everything had a ration to it. Sugar was rationed, coffee was rationed, and you had coupons. And boy, they had laws that would lock your ass up, if you got caught cheating or whatever. And yeah, it was yeah, during the period of time we had a double. Ours was double dipped on us in Alabama. Not only did we have a government ration that was put on us, but we didn't have no money because the company didn't pay you in American money. They paid you in script and clacker. In fact, I remember when the men went on a strike in probably 1948, somewhere like that, 48, 49. The reason they went on a strike was to have clacker because a man felt like he had some self worth when he could put his hands in his pockets and he could make the coins jingle. When you had to go up there to the commissary and tear off a nickel piece of script, tear off a 25 cents piece of script, tear off it. All those different things were in denomination. Tear a dollar one off, to pay for something. You didn't have real money. Now, later, Mel Blanc had probably one of the best voices for doing voiceover every. Mel Blanc used to do a lot of characters on the Jack Benny show. And he did. There was an old character that Jack Benny always run across when he went to the train station. Him and old Rochester, Jack Benny and Rochester would run around in an old Maxwell car that was just about seeing its last days because Jack didn't want to spend no money on his car. And they'd always run across that guy. Mel Blanc was the voice. Yes. Yeah. Men felt that their self worth. Well, I'll tell you another thing. Men like to shoot dice back in the early years. It was strictly against the law. And when you shoot your dice, the people that throw money down, well, they always throw change into the circle, and you couldn't throw a nickel piece of script away and just blow it away. It'd flitter away. But you could throw a piece of clacker, whatever that symbolic piece of clacker represented, a quarter or 50 cents. You toss it over there, and and then you scoop up a hand of full of clacker, and you can trade them and cash them in. And yeah, when you owed your soul to the company store, Tennessee, yeah, Tennessee Ernie, when you owed your soul to the company store, that was real. That was a true thing. We survived all that, the gas rations, the all the different food rations. It was hard. The men that died, they paid the price. It was a horrible war. But the people that lived, they didn't have it easy, even though they wasn't fighting. They still had to survive with their families, and they had to build the war goods, the airplanes, the trucks, and the cars that went to the war effort, while living on a tight budget with the different rations that they had. I've been charging up some batteries here for tomorrow for my GoPro. The GoPro 11 has a much bigger and better extended batteries than the other models did, and I really like them. They last a long time. I gotta see why this ain't charging. There we go. She's in like flint. Well, we got batteries charged up for the Mar. T-Bone, it did. It brought back a lot of great memories. Uh, it showed us how resilient we were. My grandmother was born. She lived to be 106 years of age. She was born in the 1800s, and she lived. Yeah, she lived a long time. She was part American Indian. I'm sure that didn't make her live any longer, but she was had a big heart. Oh man, I was laughing at American Outlaw. Yeah, people they forget where they come from, the history, how they got here, how the groundwork was laid out for us, to where our life is so much easier than what they had. My daddy went into the coal mines at the age of 9. And he watered the mules. He had to take the mules out, water them, take the water into the mines to water the mules. Yeah, I'm 34 years older than American Outlaw. 34 years. T-Bone, I hope you enjoy your breakfast tomorrow. I was invited to join Eddie, man, the fellow that called me a while ago. Come down and have breakfast tomorrow with a radio group. But we're going to go riding. Been looking forward to this, and I'm getting my batteries all charged up. I see my second battery is now fully charged, and yeah, we're going to get some good video tomorrow, and maybe Sunday get some good video. The weather is going to be excellent both days. 2 great days. At 84, I feel other than, well, I have a lot of issues. I broke my leg, both bones, and Angelique, she tells me, she says, "When are you going to quit whining about that leg?" Well, it didn't get a chance to heal up correctly, and I ain't going to bore you with that story, but um, so I have a leg that doesn't function as good as the other one, and when you're 84, you have to be really careful walking because you could fall and break a hip, and that's a death sentence to an 84-year-old guy. It could be. And then I have a thing called neuropathy. And with neuropathy, you don't have any feeling in your feet, or not a lot, and your toes don't function good. And so you're placing your feet every time you walk. But inside your head, you don't know you're that old. And your heart's still beating. You're breathing good. You don't have any breathing issues. Hey, have a good one there, American Outlaw. 56 years old. Tony, I married a woman the day I turned 50. I married a great lady when I turned 50. And she lived for 33 years with me. And she expired last year. And so I remember being 56 really well. When I turned 55, I retired. The day I turned 55, I retired. I retired from the company. I've been retired 29 years, be 30 come June of next year. A little over 55 and a half years, 55, a little over 29 and a half years I've been retired. Yeah, it was really good. We uh, we took her to the. I drove her up to the clinic. She had discovered a lump in her breast, and so we take her in, and when they come back out, she was crying, and I said, Well, what's the problem? She said, I've got cancer, stage 4, with a very aggressive posture. I have to have radical mastectomy. And then we both cried. She she survived the surgery, and she lived for 5 years. And fate sometimes can be cruel. She was a college educated woman. She went to Texas A&M. Yeah, Texas. She was an Aggie and an avid reader, had tremendous amount of talent. But she took during those 5 years, she took a drug called Femora, and she literally beat the cancer. But then little things started showing up, and Alzheimer's or dementia set in, and she spent 5 agonizing years with dementia. It's not a good way to go. Anyhow, let's let's move on. It is going to be so beautiful tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Be eating food with friends, riding, seeing the countryside, and meeting new people. And that's, to me, that's really important. I've had family members to come and join me here on my little chat. And that's been nice. Hope I ain't froze up. Looks like it's still working, but I don't know. Maybe my system's went gunny bag on me. Let me check here. Let me see if we still alive, or is this Memorex? Oh, you oh good. Thank you very much, man. This morning while you was out there driving the school bus there, riding on Ruby, I went back and I watched that this morning's show, and us creating this, not me, us, we a collaboration of thought and mind. We put together the rubber tired deacons. Oh man. Um, we turned it into a Cecil B. DeMille's grand production. And it was so much fun. You just get an idea and you start running with it, and then somebody over here throws a little bit in here, and somebody throws something in over here, and next thing you know, you got stuff going on. You got these main characters. You played a big role in it, riding on Ruby. You provided all the transportation. So the band of hoodlums, the Righteous Brothers, the Rubber Tire Deacon, the Righteous Brothers, Part Two, and going from town to town, spreading the good word. Oh, Timothy. Hello, Timothy. Timothy is another good little human being. Well, I think of him as little human being, but now he's a big grown man. I knew Timothy when he was a little boy, and I watched him grow up. And we're doing our little, we're doing our little live feed here. We've been having in the morning time, Timothy. We've been having coffee. You know, you get up because early in the morning you got the folks over in Australia. They can join you. The people over in China and all through Asia, they can join in with you, and it's a lot of fun. At this time of the evening, see, it's already 8 in the it's 10 minutes to 8 in the evening tomorrow. Let me see. It is 12 hours. It's already the 5th. Yeah, I think I got it counted right. Yeah, it's already the October the 5th in that part of the world. Oh, that is fantastic, Timothy. I think the last time I saw you, we was out at the lake during field day. That's been a number of years ago. You see, I've gotten old since the last time you see me. I've gotten old. I've been enjoying your music. Every once in a while, one of your musics will pop up, and I get a chance to see it. And you put heart and soul into it. I hope your family's doing well. Everybody I know is getting older, so but you got a younger family. Hoping everybody's well. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Uh, well, they raised you up good, and um, I know your dad was always proud of you. But you're a man now on your own. You've got your life, and you got your music, um, and that is good. Good to see. I went out to field day last year out at the lake, out at there over at Smith Lake under the pavilion. I took, I rode my other bike over. I rode old Heavy Betty over there. I hear from Jimmy Dill occasionally. Um, I get email from him. I go see him. When I was in the hospital, the only one to come to see me outside the family was Jimmy Dill. He come to see me when I was laying up there in the hospital. He brought my Mustang. He drove the Mustang GT back. I think his son drove his vehicle back, and he loved driving that Mustang GT. Said it had some horsepower. Yeah, we do these things quite often. I do, Timothy. I do motor blogging where I ride my motorcycle and talk while I'm riding, and I do that. We're going to do that this weekend, both days, and everything comes here to my page, Old Mack. Old Mack area is where everything lands. I know the feeling about models, vehicles, or whatever. Um, in the early years when I was racing, I was all Mopar. I ran some good Mopar products, but along after I got through with the Mopar, I went into Chevrolet, and I drove every Chevrolet, every engine they made, all the 427s, 396, all of them. But then what I done in '94, I stayed with Chevrolet all the way up to '94. I built a street rod with a 502 cubic inch engine. It's not a Chevrolet 454 punched out. It's a specially built Gen 5 502. And mine was a what's called a Pro Street engine. It was built in Milton, Freewater, Oregon. And he built it for me using the 502 block and with the heads and the cams and all that stuff. It made 650 horsepower with just light modifications, and it was huge torque. It made 605 foot of pound, 500 foot pound, 605 foot pounds of torque at 3,400 RPM or 3,200 RPM, pretty low RPM. And golly, that thing is strong. I had it in a 68 GMC short wheelbase, dropped down to the ground. It had Beltec suspension. Lord, it was such a, it wasn't one of them things where you chop the springs and you got that little bounce. No, mine was real genuine suspension. And it had a lot of good stuff in it. And I brought it down here from Washington. And when I got it down here, it had a very big four barrel. The engine was called a Dominator, Chevrolet Dominator. And that's because of the intake manifold and the carburation on it. And what we got down here, we replaced the carburetor on it because down here you got 93 octane gas, and up there they have oxygenated fuel in Washington State. So poor, low quality. But the thing was tuned for that. And when I got down here with the 93, you needed time and you needed everything changed. So we took it up towards Huntsville. There's a place up there that was recommended, and we changed everything out and put the right carburetor for this fuel. I wanted to go with a Holley fuel injection system, but they didn't have it quite. Let the train go by. They didn't have the the electronics and stuff figured out really good then. That was I got down here in '97, and so when my son turned on his 35th birthday, I gave it to him. I gave him the truck, and it had all the right stuff in it. I had the headers specially built for that engine. They were called tri-Y headers, and the thing ran good. We had it set, I think, at the red line of somewhere around 6,200 RPM. It made it made its horsepower. It made 650 horsepower at 5,500 RPM. But by having the thing redlined at 62, you would try to make your shifts at 5,500. It had a 4-speed automatic in it. Well, it wasn't just a stock 4L60. It was a soda 4L60, which is shot peen input shafts and Spokane. I love Spokane. I lived in Spokane for a while. We used to go out there, the base there, where Boeing had their facility over at Fairchild Air Force Base, and I lived on Division in Spokane. I can't remember exactly where, but I know I used to go out and drag race out at Deer Park, just north of Spokane, and I used to go fishing at Usk, USK. We'd go up on 10 Mile Creek and fish up there at Usk. I met a girl from Medical Lake. We had a fling for a couple of years. Had family that lived in Moses Lake. I lived in Moses Lake for a while. I lived in Pasco, Kennewick area. I even lived out in Warden, Washington, south of Moses Lake. We lived all over that place. See, we had a big operation there at Moses Lake. And the old Air Force Base there was called Larson Air Force Base. Oh, we all got a connection, don't we? Oh yeah, you find Division. You go. That's right. Yeah, I like the river. I like the bridges there. The whole layout of the town. I was there in the 19. I left there. I was finished with that in 1970. Yes, I believe in 1970. Because we closed the facility down. There was no longer a Larson Air Force Base, and so we went to Pasco, and we was down there for a while. We had a chopper built in Kennewick that we rode for a long time. Really enjoyed it. Harley. Yeah, Deer Park is a pretty little town out there. I used to race the drag strip out there. I used to race in Arlington, Washington. It was another, that's over there north of Seattle, north of Everett. I used to race there. There was a nice racetrack there. Then I used to race when I bought a new 427 Chevrolet. I bought a brand new Chevrolet 66 Caprice that had all the factory options on it. And I raced it out at SIR. When I got 12,000 miles on the car, I had it completely built. I'm talking about with Mickey Thompson's wheels and rims and tires. We talked about Escadarian camshafts and all that stuff. We had that 427 built to the hilt, and we used to race at SIR, Seattle International Raceway. Then I got tied in through NASCAR with the guy that drove the number 55 Napa car, Michael Waltrip. And we stayed up at his place up there for a week in Cornelius, North Carolina. Oh my God, it should be 350, 350 horse, 327. That's everything you can put in the engine. You know, that's more than a horsepower per cubic inch. And you couldn't ask for much more. And I remember when those cars ran too. I had uh, what the hell was that thing? I had a Chevrolet. What the hell was that thing? Was it El Camino? It had a 327 in it. Um, it was 275 horse, and it was strong. At 327, 275 horse, it was really strong. We bought it new in Allen Green Chevrolet in Burien, Washington, and it turned the engine up. It was a RS, a Camaro RS. That's what it was. I couldn't remember if I had a Torino, or I know I owned a couple of Torinos, but I was thinking about the El Camino. No, it was an RS Rally Sport Chevrolet Camaro, 68, I believe, and it had the 327, 275 horse, and I really liked that car. And then I bought a Mopar. I bought a Plymouth Barracuda, a 68 Plymouth Barracuda. At the same year I had the RS Chevrolet, I turned around and bought now that was for my wife, the RS Camaro, but I bought myself a Plymouth Barracuda, and it was awesome. Well, we've been going for an hour and 37 minutes, and I think we're down to just three people. Everybody's went to sleep, gone to bed, checked out. Um, and the Barracuda, that 446 pack in the Barracuda was stout, or the Challenger, Barracuda Challenger. Those were stout. I had a real stout 383 in a Super B that was only 383 cubic inches, but it was really stout because it was built to the hilt. I had maybe four or five of the 383s in different phases of horsepower. And I had a Plymouth Fury that had a 361 engine in it, but it had the big four barrel, the ram induction or whatever they called it. And my mother liked my car so much that she went out and they bought a Oldsmobile, and they drove it out to my house, and it was an O's convertible. And I said, "Does it run good?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, this thing runs really good." She said, "But it gets really bad gas mileage." I said, "Well, let me look under the hood and make sure you don't have something." I raised the hood, and it was an O's J2 setup with 3 barrels on it. Top of the line, 300 and I believe 94 cubic inches, Oldsmobile. I got to drive a 66 GTO of 389 in it, and And it was a really good one too. Riding with Ruby, it was a strong car. How about that? You had a detective's car. Oh, you had to cuff 'em up, Dano. Oh my gosh. I've had a lot of really powerful cars and trucks and bikes. I've had some real powerful bikes. I got to run a fuel bike. It was 750 cc's on fuel, and it was called a bonsai engine. It either made horsepower or it blew up, one or the other. Some days it made horsepower, sometimes it blew up. And if you ever had anything to blow up in your crotch when you're running fuel, there's flames everywhere. Like if you blow the head gasket out of it, it belches flames all over it, and the little particles of copper goes all into your legs and stuff. It's awful. It's your legs are right there. Your old legs get a lot of metal in them. I've always been fond of Mopar, the Chrysler. Um, I like the old style Hemis. The new ones are coming around now where they're getting a little bit better. They had a lot of ticking and rattling noises to me. I think the new generation of the Hemi is the 6.9 or whatever. It's getting to be a lot better, and they're very popular. With the Demon and Hellcat and all those really hot models you see in now. But man, they want an arm and a leg for them things. Yeah, you need a good torque to pull you off the line, get the load moving. You'll always see the torque drop off, even a real powerful engine. The torque will start dropping off as the horsepower climbs on out, but it's that initial torque that gets you up to where the RPMs can do you some good. Let me tell you about the 409 SS Chevrolet. My uncle says to his wife, I want you to go get us a car because we're going to go up to Pennsylvania from Alabama, and I want a nice car when we go up there. So she went over to the Wood Brothers Chevrolet in Birmingham and drove home in a Impala hardtop with the 409 in it. She come rolling in there. Well, he fussed and grumbled for a little while, but he really was impressed when people could see it. They see it had the 409 badge on it. So she was so impressed with that. That was in '63. Long about 68, I guess it was, or 67, she goes back to the Wood Brothers Chevrolet and drives home an SS 427. Yeah, she always pleased her husband. They're both gone now, but they were just sports minded people. They always got the hard top. Buck, I saw you today talking about, oh, it's been a while back. You was talking about your Pete's going to be paid off soon. And I think that's when y'all was doing when you had your hair cut down there in Florida. So now you got the pink slip on your Pete. Oh, so I don't remember the time stamp on when you went and had your hair cut off down there at the Forgotten Angels, but that's when we got to see Toga in living flesh. That was fun. My brother-in-law, he always wanted a Peter car, and so he worked and scraped and scrimped, and finally got some pocket change, and he went put his little bit of pocket change down on a new Peter car, and he also got well, he got a reefer unit that had a big reefer motor up there, and he had the whole package. He was going to be hauling. He had some good contracts all set up, and he parked up there on I believe it's I-80 in Iowa, the largest truck stop. He was parked there asleep. He was laying up there in that sleeper, and the truck next to him caught on fire, and it fire caught his condo on fire, and he laying up there and it's flaming, and finally started beating on the door. People did and tried to get him out of there, and then the tires on that side started blowing up. And he jumped down over the ground and realized that he didn't have his wallet. It was in his britches up there in the condo, and so he had to jump back up in the truck where this thing just roaring and flaming. And by this time, his motor was on fire up there, the reefer unit. It was on fire. It burnt down 3 trucks to the ground there at the big truck stop in Iowa. Oh man, I love to see when people work out the differences. Everybody's going to have a bad night or a bad day, or be just a little bit out of a kilter. I can see in the video my nose sure has a list to it. Maybe I have to build me some kind of a support brace there to keep my nose straight. Oh, here we go. You guys had so much fun. And some of them guys had them big old beards too, and they had to. And oh, I tell you, Humbry, I believe it is. Oh, what a head of hair he had on him, and he shaved after he got through shaving. Then he done his hair, and what a good sport. You know, I liked what I believe T-Bone said, or maybe Sterling Will said. You'll never get back across the border because they won't match your ID. Is it going to be a fairly big solar flare, Timothy? I used to love this time of the year. In the Pacific Northwest, we'd go up to Mount Vernon up on the Skagit River, and we'd go back up there in the Cascade Mountains. And we used to stay in this valley where you could see the Milky Way and everything really good. And the Northern Lights, the Aurora Borealis would be just, oh, running wild, looked like it just sweeping through the valley. And it was so beautiful. When I was stationed over in Montana, we saw a lot of the Northern Lights. It was really big there. On QRZ, there's a lot of good information on QRZ, Timothy. You can go to www.qrz.com, and up there you can go up and look at the solar indexes, and they can tell you how big the solar index is going to be and what kind of what level it's going to be at. Well, I think I'm going to wind it down. It's we've been on 1 hour and 54 minutes, and I want to thank each and every one of you that came over to visit tonight. We had a good turnout. I had a call from a friend. He's a uh, he was a band director for the Auburn University, and that's the first time we talked in a long time. Jim, I'm so happy you got to be in here with us tonight. You're a man of a few words, but God, I do all the talking. I pull the air out of the room. And Timothy, thank you very much for coming over to visit. And Buck Brown, man, be safe out there. And Tony Hay, we'll be doing it again in the near future, riding on Ruby, not with Ruby, riding on Ruby. Oh man, we had so much fun this morning, Jim Reynolds. You was busy out there working or doing something. Oh, I understand Idaho. I've traveled there many times. Uh, we had such a big get together this morning. Um, we was forming the international chapter of Rubber Tired Deacons. Um, yeah, we created this whole. We got Dave. We got them playing trumpets. It's going to be an epic Cecil B. DeMille's production. Well, Timothy, I appreciate the offer, and hope we get to see you one of these days. I keep up with the music, and maybe next time we get a chance to talk. I'm so so far it's been 5 hours of broadcast time today, and we got a lot of riding to do this weekend. So I want to get a few things done. And so let me say good night to each and every one of you. I love you, man. Just all of you. Take care of you. Take care of each other, and have fun. It would be no fun living to be my age and not having fun. That's when it ceases to have a reason to continue on, is when you're not having any fun. Good night, guys. God bless. See y'all maybe for tomorrow morning coffee. Good night.